Good morning, everyone. I'm Peep Vans, your host for today, and with me I have Bob Fogarty. This morning, how are you doing today, Bob?
I'm doing good. I haven't had my cup of coffee yet, but I'm doing good.
Yeah, me either. But we'll get through this. Starting today, we have some fantastic shows lined up for everyone. We have the latest news, some interviews and stories that matter. Starting off, our top story takes us to the heart of American democracy, where various candidates are embarking on crucial campaigns to win over the people in the upcoming presidential election. We have an exclusive interview with you, Bob, this morning. Bob, we hear you are actually one of those candidates, their vice presidential choice. Tell me, why have you and United decided to run for president?
Yeah, thank you, peeps. United and I have taken it upon ourselves to launch a campaign for the White House to bring a fresh start to our nation because we have seen an abundantly obvious decline in activity among our intergovernmental bodies. We have, as you may expect, identified some of the key issues that need to be addressed, including the repair and activity of our Congress through amendments to our Constitution that establish a right to accountability, the re engagement and reform of our diplomatic relations, and the separation of the state of Colorado and the federal government.
How do you think this election will play out compared to previous ones? Do you think this one will bring more attention and overall have a higher voter count?
I think it's kind of hard to say because it is so simple or so early right now in this election. But I will say one of the things that I think all of the candidates are really looking for. Sorry about that. Is we all want transparency in the election, which we haven't seen in the past two or three elections that we've had. Every candidate, and I've spoken to all of the candidates, thankfully, every candidate that I've spoken to thus far have said that they want there to be debates. They want to make sure that we're having constant polling done to determine who is leading and who's not leading. We want to ensure that there are checks and balances going on between the FEC so we don't see these constant disqualifications happening. And I think overall, this election is really going to be an election that proves that we can have a fair democracy and a fair democratic system uh, without there being a ton of toxic energy going out and while seeing increasing voter participation.
Yes. Now I also want to ask, how is your campaign, if you can give us some insight on this, how is your campaign, reaching out, trying to inspire other Americans and get their support?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to obviously leak our campaign strategy because that would be a
Yes, of
really
course,
ill intended error on our part. But I think the biggest strategy that we're working with right now is reaching out to people that are not politically motivated in the community. We've obviously seen we have had a membership spike just because this is the summertime. And that's always what happens in the summertime is we always get a big membership spike of people that want to go and join federal departments and things like that. So we're reaching out to those people and we're saying, listen, okay, we have combined, me and United, about 10 years of experience in the NUSA community. I have, been part of the more legal side of things. United has kind of been all across in every single area, whether that be in law enforcement or in the military or in other areas. And we're basically saying to them point blank, listen, we have the experience to get things done. And if you just trust us, I promise you, you will not be disappointed. We really want to restore this community to what it once was, with there being an active military, with there being active diplomatic interests, with there being kind of slow down opportunities to join departments because they're so big and active and full of opportunity. We want there to be a new community, or at least an old community that is going back to what it once was. And so, I think that's really the message that we're trying to branch out to voters. And I think that's the message that's really working for so many of these voters right now.
Yes. Now we have a question from one of our audience members. They're asking, how, if you guys are elected, how do you guys plan on cooperating and ensuring joint communications with, the local and state governments in Boulder?
It's actually a really good question, and I think this is actually something that United and I have been, proud to kind of take on in our policy making stage, which is kind of what we're going through right now, is making sure that our policies, resemble our vision for the country, going forward. And I think what really sticks when we're talking about the separation of states and ensuring that the states have their own rights in comparison to the overriding rights of the federal government is ensuring that that communication between Colorado and the United States is there, and that we're working with the states, but that we're also not commanding the states to do what we want them to do, right? And I think this also opens up an opportunity for other states to come along the way. Obviously, it would be foul for us to say that Colorado is the place that we want to stop at. I mean, I would love for NUSA to have a plethora of states that we can work with in the federal government and have laws of the land planted out by the federal government, and also have those states have their own individual liberties and freedoms. But that's besides the point. As far as communication goes, I think it is the priority and the responsibility of the executive office of the president and the vice president's office to communicate with the states when there is a clear need to do so, so that the states can rule in their own way, so that the states can do what the states need to do. But let's also say that there is some type of federal emergency happening, right? Let's say that the National Guard needs to be dispatched and ordered to go to Colorado and do, God knows what to stop some type of protest or riot. Obviously, we want to have a clear path of communication so that we can correspond and coordinate with the state of Colorado to make sure that we're doing things that they appreciate and that they need without, ruining that relationship. So I think our best form of communication right now and our style of communication that we want to have if we're elected is, really promoting that kind of conservative style of governing, which is, you know, let the states have the rights, and let's let the federal government have its own dependency on saying we're going to do what we'd like to do, and we hope Colorado agrees to that message.
Yes, thank you, Bob, for your statements and answering questions for us this morning. Um, Moving on to our next topic, we have a exclusive story coming in from this week. Um, Our CBS team was on the ground this week, where an unfortunate car pileup has occurred in Canton this week. The situation quickly escalated, requiring the immediate response of two critical agencies in Boulder County. CBS has reports that the FBI and the National Guard swiftly arrived on scene, working tirelessly to restore the order and ensure the safety of the affected area. Local law enforcement is working closely with the federal authorities to investigate the cause of the pileup. While details are still emerging, it's clear the situation is very complex and it is rapidly evolving. Bob, can you give me some of your thoughts on this incident today?
It's interesting to see the FBI and the National Guard on this incident, and I mean, because this is kind of a new incident, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing some more news and information as information comes out.
Yes. So during this incident, our CBS team, we had a CBS News team on the ground actually, gathering information, speaking with witnesses to bring you the most up to date on the developing story. We have one witness who told CBS this week that he believes the incident was caused by a shipping container being crashed into by a vehicle, then pushing multiple cars into the water around the docks and the National Guard base station there. Stay tuned later as we dive deeper into this incident, exploring the efforts made by the FBI and the National Guard to stabilize the situation. Moving on to our next story this morning, um, CBS has another exclusive story and exclusive images. These images will be posted on our CBS Twitter. Um, if you aren't familiar with that, we have it linked in our Discord server. Um, the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, abbreviated as the FLETC, is a cornerstone of our nation's efforts to train and prepare federal law enforcement officers and state or local authorities. Class 2 is about to take the stage. It has already started with session 2, with session 1 actually. Sorry about that. Um, it may be smaller in size, but it's armed with a new level of complexity and challenges, ranging from tactical drills to high pressure simulations. Class 2 will be pushed to their limits. Their journey will require teamwork, critical thinking, and the ability to adapt to dynamic situations in the blink of an eye. Bob, do you think the FLETC is doing good so far in their efforts to train our law enforcement, state, and local authorities?
Yeah, actually, I absolutely do. I will say one of the things that I was really anxious about when I found out that FLETC was returning to the community was, are these trainings going to be helpful in ensuring that our law enforcement personnel are able to do their jobs effectively? And from what I'm seeing currently and what I'm seeing from FLETC, especially when it comes to even communicating with the United States Marshal Service and the Federal Bureau of Investigation as the Attorney General right now, I'm seeing that FLETC is doing their job by producing law enforcement officers and law enforcement trained individuals that are able to effectively do their jobs to protect all of the citizens of this community. And hopefully that will include, when we actually have fully opened up courts, law enforcement officers that are able to protect and defend and assist in that prosecutorial process when Colorado becomes fully opened up and ready to go. So to say that I'm happy with FLETC would be an understatement.
Yes, indeed. So thank you everyone for tuning in this morning. As we conclude our program, we want to extend our deepest gratitude to the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center and its exceptional instructors for granting us access to exclusive photos from the first session. Again, you can view these on our CBS News Twitter page. We will have a short video out explaining the whole thing later on. As always, thank you for joining us on CBS News, where we strive to bring you the stories that matter most. Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay tuned for more compelling coverage of the issues that face our